The election of Javier Milei in Argentina has not only shook the country but the world, and with it, we now see that Donald Trump will be going to Buenos Aires to go meet Javier Milei. And here's the thing. For all the people that are new to this channel and haven't seen any of my Javier Milei videos, well, I'm about to say something I've been saying quite a bit. I wish Donald Trump was half as good on half of the issues that Javier Milei was good on, because if so, then maybe Donald Trump would have actually been a really good president. Why is this so important? Because Javier Milei can actually instill the understanding within Donald Trump that no, it isn't simply the left that's after you. Isn't it simply the right who's aligned with the neoconservative establishment and those who are pushing the warhawk propaganda, those who simply purport the establishment ethos? What your enemy truly is the state. The fact that the state itself wields so much power. This is the problem, and with it, I truly hope Javier Milei can instill this understanding within Donald Trump in their conversation to say, look, the people themselves that dislike you, that may be one thing. But the problem is that they have the ability to use the largest control vector, which would be the state, and put pressure upon you and every single person you interact with solely based on the standards with which they desire to persecute you. And with it, I really hope Donald Trump can come to the understanding that government and the state is the issue in this, and that is what allowed him to be persecuted to the degree that he has been. Now let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to be playing some clips of Javier Milei, seeing what's going on with the current commentary around the situation. Probably a little less commentary from me solely because I have so many clips of Javier Milei. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and get into it. Here we have on Twitter a post saying Argentina's Milei says former U.S. President Trump to visit Buenos Aires. And this is from a Reuters article, and the Reuters article really says nothing. It's literally like 6 sentences. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't even know why they posted it. But here's what I find so interesting about this, is the fact that Donald Trump is about to go interact with someone who I would argue is more in tune with the current day culture, is better at interacting with the youth, understands the nature of the issues more than he does, and also wields the same kind of rhetoric. But I would argue even more brash to a degree, with Javier Milei openly coming out and disdaining leftists consistently and openly, just throwing them into the fire and casting them out and saying, no, you shall not return. And with it, we can see that it's activated so much of the culture within Argentina and so many of the people. And like Milei said, his intention was not to lead sheep, it was to wake up lions, and with it, the lions within Argentina have been activated. And as I've stated, there is no turning back from this. There's no putting this genie back in the bottle. The dam has burst, and with it, you cannot stop this flood. Milei says closing of Argentina's central bank non-negotiable. This is from Zero Hedge. My goodness. Lord, I've seen what you've done for other people, and I want you to do it for me. The fact that we see that he is saying the closing of the central bank is non-negotiable is another poignant example that he understands the issues in a way that Donald Trump could only hope to if he really wanted to activate true change within the American populace. Because understanding that central banking is nothing more than, one, a facade, and two, the lifeblood of the Leviathan that props up the federal government that funds all of these projects that ends up bankrupting the populace. This is one of the most crucial understandings when it comes to the nature of really assessing the problems that are hitting the people within the current society that you're trying to lead, rule, or better. Now, what do we see? Carl Benjamin. Good morning. Enjoy this 100% correct rant against politicians from Milei. And ever since Milei got elected, and I've been listening to Carl, he's been sounding more and more like a libertarian. And realistically, he's just a classical liberal type. He's more like post-libertarian, even though he was never technically a libertarian. But nonetheless, what I find so interesting is the nature of how his rhetoric has shifted around talking about politicians and referring to them specifically as things like parasites. Now let's get into this clip.
Es decir, esta es una sociedad que está infectada de socialismo. Y lo que hay que lograr es sacar el socialismo de la cabeza de la gente, ¿sí? Y los principales promotores de estas ideas son los políticos. Te propongo que veas lo que fueron las declaraciones de Graciela Camaño. Se supone que uno de los mejores dirigentes de Argentina. ¿Sabes contra quién van? Contra los liberales. Porque los liberales somos los únicos que le enrostramos a los políticos que ellos no son la solución, que ellos son el problema. Los políticos son una suerte de sociópatas que quieren hacernos creer que nosotros somos inválidos mentales, inválidos en todo sentido, porque no podemos vivir si no fuera por ellos. En realidad, los que no pueden vivir sin nosotros son ellos. Es decir, si el país se separara entre los que producimos de un lado y del otro lado, queda la mierda de los políticos, los sindicalistas, todo este conjunto de parásitos se hunden, se mueren. Separemos la Argentina, en Argentina del Norte y Argentina Argentina del Sur, ¿sabes qué? Los que estamos dispuestos a laburar nos vamos a la parte más pobre del país, le dejamos vaca muerta, todo. Aun cuando se quedaran con todo, se van a hundir estas ratas porque no sirven para nada. En cambio, los que laburamos y sabemos ganarnos la vida, ¿sabes qué? Nos va a ir bien. Nosotros somos gente de bien, gente que labura, y no vivimos abogando por la envidia, el odio, el resentimiento, el robo, sí, el trato desigual frente a la ley, que es esa inmundicia de la justicia social, que es lo más injusto que existe, porque implica robarle a una persona el fruto de su trabajo para dárselo a quien a mí se me da la gana. Pero ¿de dónde salieron esta manga de sátrapa? ¿Sabes por qué? Porque además en todo ese proceso, no solo que destruyeron la economía, empobrecieron a la gente, sí, desde el año 70 hasta ahora el Estado se triplicó, multiplicaron por 6 el número de pobres, ¿sí? ¿Y sabes quiénes fueron los únicos que progresaron acá? Los políticos. Entonces, ¿saben qué? Quieren, digamos, quedarse en este país, ¿saben qué? Tienen que identificar el enemigo son los políticos, hay que ir contra los políticos, esos son nuestros enemigos, esos son los que nos hunden en la pobreza, esos son los únicos que progresaron con este verso de la justicia social y la redistribución del ingreso. La verdadera redistribución del ingreso fue desde los que laburamos a los parásitos de los políticos. A ver, digamos, ¿por qué nació el liberalismo? Para salir del yugo opresor de los monarcas. Digamos, esta casta que tenemos, son como los monarcas, y ni siquiera se autoheredan. Son los mismos que estaban en el 2001. No se fue ninguno, estos chorros se quedaron todos. Y hay más, porque además se multiplican, porque tenés que agregar la parentela, sí, porque además tenés que agregar la amante, porque tenés que agregar la familia del amante, y crece, y crece, y crece. Y el bolsillo, digamos, de lo que producen, digamos, es cada vez más chico. O sea, entonces no puede ser que en un país si le vaya mejor a los parásitos de la política que el tipo que produce. Es decir, no te puede ir mejor, ¿sí?, siendo un parásito de la política que no produce nada y que cuando hace algo lo único que hace es daño. Porque una de las cosas que pasa cada vez que interviene el Estado, se genera lo que se llama el fallo del Estado. O sea, fíjate esto, los planes contra la pobreza, ¿qué hacen? Generan más pobres. Mira el caso argentino.
Before we continue on with these clips of Javier Milei, and I would argue the next one coming up may be his best speech to date. It's roughly 3 minutes. I've watched a lot of his speeches that have been transcribed into English or had closed captions on them. And man, it's him at his absolute best. He's just hitting full stride. Now let's go ahead and get into this article. The United States needs its own Javier Milei. Milei's victory reiterates that liberty can win, and yes, it most certainly can. On Sunday, the populist Austro-libertarian Javier Milei was elected president of Argentina. In the United States, the reaction ranged from concerned curiosity on the part of the political establishment to enthusiastic celebration across the populist right, including notably some economic nationalists. Several renowned libertarians also brought attention to some of Milei's many flaws, such as his views on geopolitics. Milei's libertarian skeptics make many good points, and odds are a man with a legislature stacked against him will not be able to address Argentina's many problems without some political backup. That is exactly what happened to Donald Trump. But still, there is much to admire about Milei's rise and plenty to learn from his campaign's bold-spirited rhetoric, because our country is also in desperate need of a similar course change. Many Americans are in a tough spot right now. 8 years of inflationary monetary policy have made life far more expensive. Heavy government involvement in many of the most important sectors, including healthcare, housing, education, and energy, has made it harder for younger Americans to afford the same lifestyles as previous generations. Further, the Federal Reserve's manipulation of interest rates has left the American people heavily in debt, low on savings, and forced to weather the recurring nightmare of the boom-bust cycle. Meanwhile, at Washington's decades of foreign intervention predictably blow up in its face, politicians are calling on the American people to fork over an ever-increasing amount of money in the futile effort to sustain an unchecked global empire. All while the people in the government remain unable and unwilling to protect the lives and the property of millions of American citizens. We may not yet have poverty rate of over 40% or inflation above that of 140% like Argentina, but we're on a trajectory that leads straight to that kind of economic ruin. It doesn't have to be this way. We know the way out. The way involves dissolving the politicized monetary system and returning to a system of sound money, where prices and interest rates are determined by economic realities, not the whim of bureaucrats. That can only be achieved with a total abolishment of the cartelized banking system. Depoliticizing money and banking would put the American people back in control of their own money for the first time in over a century and bring an end to the permanent inflation and ceaseless recessions. We ought to end the disastrous policies, regulations, and departments that have constrained the supply of housing and energy, that have made education and healthcare services prohibitively more expensive. And crucially, we need to put an end to Washington's drive for a global spanning empire. The American people have been forced to fund coups, bombing campaigns, and full-on wars that have killed millions and made the world less stable. History is full of empires overextending themselves and collapsing. Let's opt out of our own downfall. Javier Milei has demonstrated, as Ron Paul did before, that it is possible to get millions of people to understand the necessity of radical liberty and to get them energized about it. And that's important because the political class is never going to give up any power unless a strong grassroots movement leaves them no choice. Milei's victory reiterates that liberty can win, but it requires strong, uncompromising voices that can speak to regular people about what is most pressing problems and how to offer a compelling vision of a freer, safer, and wealthier future. And that is what you, as a libertarian, have the responsibility to do, to convey these ideas in a way that shows the nature of how they energize you and how important it is to fight for a free society, because there is nothing more valuable than the ideals of children being able to grow up free from tyranny. Now let's go ahead and jump into this clip.
Nosotros no somos más que nuestros representados. En términos financieros es el derivado, el activo derivado nunca vale más que el subyacente. El derivado existe porque existe el subyacente. Nosotros, existimos como representantes del pueblo porque existe el pueblo. Y es una locura, es un delirio arrogarse que un representante del pueblo es más que el propio pueblo. Es un delirio, es el delirio en el que vive la casta política. Entonces, en nuestro gobierno, los políticos van a tener que vivir la misma vida que vive el ciudadano común. Van a tener que internalizar el resultado. Y si se mandan macanas, no solo van a sufrir los argentinos de bien, van a sufrir más los políticos. Van a tener que vivir como viven los argentinos de bien. Se les acabó los privilegios, se acabó la joda. Y esto solamente lo puede hacer un outsider, lo puede hacer un tipo que viene de afuera, y no cualquier tipo de outsider, porque está llena la historia de outsiders que se meten en estructuras preexistentes. Nosotros somos outsider, porque somos outsider sin estructura precedente, que la construimos para esto. ¿Para qué? Para sacarlos a patadas en el culo. Se acabó la joda, se acabaron los privilegios de la política, se acabó. Una Argentina distinta es imposible con los mismos de siempre. Basta de la joda, se les terminó la joda y por eso me quieren exterminar. Por eso me mandan a los 200 fracasados, ¿sí? Por eso me mandan a los pseudos intelectuales, por eso me mandan a los curavilleros, por eso me mandan, a atacar por los medios, por eso me atacan los empresarios prebendarios, porque se acabó la joda. ¿Por qué recrudece el ataque? Porque creían que esto no iba a pasar y se encontraron con un tercio de la población gritando libertad. Gritan libertad, descubrieron que no quieren ser corderos, descubrieron que se sienten mejor siendo leones. Porque como dije en mi primer discurso, yo no vine acá a guiar corderos, vine a despertar leones y están despertando y se van a comer crudo a los políticos chorros, se van a comer crudo a los empresarios prebendarios, se van a comer crudo a los sindicalistas que entregan a la gente, se van a comer crudo a los medios de comunicación que fueron funcionales a todos estos chorros para mantener este curro, y se van a llevar puesto a los econochantas, a los encuestolos y a toda esa basura, ¿sí? Que abogan por la religión del Estado porque curran de ahí. Eso, es decir, Argentina está despertando. Hay luz, sí hay luz, porque la gente está despertando. Descubrió que la esclavitud no es negocio y hay una vida mejor que la vida en libertad. Por eso estás viendo lo que estás viendo. Esto lleva la misma dinámica que una función exponencial, y en algún momento hubo un punto de giro y ahora no lo pueden parar. Cuando la función exponencial empezó a crecer, no la podés parar.
Easily Javier Milei's best speech, in my opinion. And what do we see? We see that when it comes down to it, what does Javier Milei show us? That when the rubber meets the road and you are put in an uncomfortable position and it comes to the nature of defending liberty, what do? You stand firm and you defend those ideals unceasingly and uncompromisingly, because without doing so, people will not truly get the fact of how important it is that you fight for the nobility of these ideals, for what it means to people to truly be free from the repressive nature of the state. And the fact is, what we see going on in Argentina is a white pill, one of the biggest I've seen in quite some time. And I've been white pilled for quite a long time. There is no getting me to succumb to the nature of doomerism. I'm sorry, but there is no possible chance you will ever get me to take the black pill when it comes to the prospect that I have people in my life that I have to care about that need a better world in the future than the one that exists currently. There is no option. That is fucking bitch shit, period. There is no fucking example that you can provide me that gives you a good reason to sell me an argument on the fact of why I should take the fucking black pill. And with it, Javier Milei getting elected and lighting the power keg within the Argentinian people's soul is something that people should look at and realize that it's just about time that it happened here too. In the United States, it's just about time that we understood what it meant to take the white pill. And with it, I'm going to go ahead and read something that I said to someone when I was talking about why you can never succumb to the nature of doomerism, and I'm going to end it there. Victory was never assured, but defiance of those who control the evil orders of this world was always a guarantee. In the end, the good may not win, but it is our duty to act as if we shall. Thank you for watching. Thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section down below. Stay lovely, stay great. Tell someone you love them. Peace out.